man is arrested after a mother and child were murdered in Lincolnshire and an off-duty policeman injured. Officers issued an urgent manhunt this morning for 29-year-old Daniel Bolton. We'll have the very latest. Also this lunchtime. A 5-month-old baby is the first to receive potentially life-saving gene therapy on the NHS, but it is the most expensive drug in the world.
We're absolutely over the moon. We're so grateful and happy for all the doctors, the nurses and everyone in the NHS.
The government under pressure to delay unlocking England on June the 21st. And fun in the sun, thousands flock to UK beaches on the hottest day of the year so far.
This is the ITV Lunchtime News with Lucrezia Millarini.
Good afternoon. In the past hour, a man has been arrested in connection with the murder of a mother and her 9-year-old son at their home in Louth in Lincolnshire. Police launched a manhunt for Daniel Bolton yesterday evening. He's also suspected of injuring an off-duty police officer. Well, neighbours of the murdered mother and son say they are shocked as flowers have been laid at the scene. John Ray reports.
A murder investigation and a manhunt were launched last night after the discovery of the bodies of a 26-year-old woman and her 9-year-old son at this home in Lincolnshire. They had both suffered multiple stab wounds. Another young child was found at the property uninjured. Police say both victims were known to 29-year-old Daniel Bolton, who was sought urgently for questioning and who this morning has been arrested. Earlier, an off-duty police officer had been injured and the police warned not to approach Bolton directly. Neighbours have spoken of their shock.
And then the policeman came to our door, so then we told us to stay inside. And then all the policemen and our police turned up.
It's horrible, especially when it's 2 doors down from our house. It's like...
And kids are involved.
Forensic teams have recovered a knife from the scene of the killings. Police say they are not looking for anyone else in connection with the deaths. John Ray, ITV News.
Victoria Whittam is in Louth for us this lunchtime. Victoria, a terribly upsetting time for people there. What are they telling you?
Yes, that's right. Neighbours say they're shocked and horrified by events that took place overnight into lunchtime today. They say that things like this just don't happen in such a sleepy village. Now, a few moments ago, pictures were released of Daniel Bolton being arrested close to Hubbard's Hills, which is the area where an off-duty police officer was attacked. Now, earlier I was speaking to a neighbour whose bedroom actually overlooks the house where the family were found. He has said that family hasn't lived there very long at all. In fact, that property was empty for quite some time until builders came in shortly before the first lockdown and the family moved in. Now, despite them not being well known, there has been a steady stream of flowers being put at the scene, people really wanting to pay tribute to the mother and child who lost their life. Lincolnshire police say that what happened is a tragic, extraordinary and worrying set of circumstances in equal measure. They say their thoughts are with the family, and of the off-duty police officer that was injured, they say it goes to show that officers are never really off-duty at all and that they will always do their best to protect the public.
All right, Victoria in Louth in Lincolnshire, thank you. Now, just 5 months old, Arthur Morgan is offering hope to hundreds of poorly children. He's become the first child in England to be given gene therapy for a disease that has reduced his life expectancy to 2 years. Spinal muscular atrophy causes progressive muscle weakness, loss of movement and difficulty breathing. The new treatment, Zolgensma, gives Arthur the chance to sit, crawl and walk, but with a price of £1.79 million per dose, it's thought to be the world's most expensive drug. Helen Keenan reports.
5-month-old baby Arthur can barely move. He can't lift his head or his arms and legs. The spinal disorder he suffers from means he's only expected to live to 2 years old. But this could be a breakthrough moment, given a drug that will likely improve his condition. Costing almost £1.8 million, it's the world's most expensive. And just 3 weeks after being diagnosed, Arthur is the first NHS patient to receive it.
We're absolutely over the moon. We give him the best possible chance at having his best life he can. And we're so grateful and happy for all the doctors, the nurses and everyone in the NHS. We're over the moon.
The NHS has negotiated a cheaper rate for the drug that was administered at Evelina London Children's Hospital, one of 4 centres in England that can carry out the treatment. Children with spinal muscular atrophy have a missing or faulty gene. It makes motor neurone cells weak, which affects muscle movement. The Zolgensma drug makes a protein called SMN, replacing that function and making them strong again. Experts say it has the potential to be a game changer.
I think the results are exciting because particularly if it's given before symptoms are present or when there are minimal symptoms, infants have been able to gain motor skills such as rolling, crawling, sitting, standing, walking.
In the UK, approximately 100 children are born with the disease each year. A one-off dose of this drug could make a huge difference to not only Arthur's, but many infants' lives. Helen Keenan, ITV News.
Oh, joining me now is Meg Willis with her son Edward, who has SMA type 1 and is waiting for Zolgensma. Meg, thank you so much for joining us, and to Edward as well. First of all, what would getting this drug mean to your life and, more importantly, to Edward's life?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's uncomprehendable, really, how much it would mean to all of us for him to get this drug. I mean, I really do believe it's the difference between him walking and not walking. Like you say, this drug is a game changer, and it's an incredible drug, and I just can't wait for Edward to get it.
How old is Edward at the moment, and what treatment is he on already? And what is day-to-day life like for both of you?
Yep, so Edward's 8 months old. He's on a treatment called Spinraza, which is a lumbar puncture into his spine every 4 months. Day-to-day life has been a bit different anyway because we're in lockdown. So we are very busy. A lot of SMA is rehabilitation. So we do lots of hydrotherapy, physiotherapy, occupational health, speech and language. So it's never just lazy days. We're doing something every day with him, and basically teaching him how to use his limbs again, that he kind of lost that function before he went on to treatment.
Oh, he's a little bit grizzly there, isn't he? But he's doing very well for the camera. Have you heard anything yet about whether you're going to receive Zolgensma or not?
Sorry?
Have you heard anything yet about receiving this new drug, Zolgensma?
So we've heard lots about it, obviously. We're very hopeful that he gets it. So I know that he's been put forward by his doctor. Unfortunately, the pathway is still closed for children that are already on treatments and that are over 6 months. I know that the NHS in March released a statement to say children of his criteria would still be eligible, which is amazing. But we don't know when he's going to get it, and obviously time is ticking because the older he gets, the less effective it can be. It really is a race against time at the moment.
Well, listen, Meg, we hope that you do get access to that drug as soon as possible, and thank you so much for talking to us, and thank you, Edward, as well. I think he wants to go now.
Sorry, yes. Yeah, he's teething, bless him. So,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Now, according to the roadmap, out of lockdown, June the 21st was the date suggested when COVID restrictions in England would be fully lifted. But some experts are warning the government to delay that decision. It follows a small rise in cases linked to the Indian variant, now to be known as the Delta variant. Our political correspondent Colin Dinham reports.
The Indian variant is now called the Delta variant, but the new name doesn't change the old problem. Testing has been surged into more places like Canterbury to try to find it. The numbers do remain low, but they're growing.
Unfortunately, we're now also seeing increases in hospitalisation rates and death rates. And that reflects probably the easing from a few weeks ago of rules, and the impact of more recent changes is yet to be seen. So there's every reason to be cautious and be guided by the data and not dates.
Trials started today in Bradford on giving people a third dose of vaccine.
So if you'll come take a seat.
Although the vaccination programme is going well, it doesn't offer complete protection. One dose of Pfizer or AstraZeneca gives only 33% effectiveness against the Delta variant. 2 doses of Pfizer are 88% effective, 2 of AstraZeneca possibly just 66%. And not everyone's had it. 74.8% of UK adults have had 1 dose, 48.5% have had 2. So ministers are sounding ever more cautious about the ending of restrictions on June the 21st.
There's been no decision taken. We're going to be making sure that we can make that decision when the time comes with the very latest information, the latest data and the latest advice from the scientists.
Leaving some small business owners like landlady Sheila Goggin on tenterhooks.
We need to operate at full capacity because at the minute there's a limit to how many customers we can serve, and we've had to increase the amount of staff we need to serve them. So the lucky pubs are making rent and being able to pay their staff, while a lot of us are running at a loss.
But if the government does remove all remaining restrictions on the 21st of June, any burgeoning third wave could be much more serious. Ministers are due to make their decision in the next 2 weeks. Carl Dinham, ITV News.
Well, joining us now to talk more things COVID is our regular medical expert, GP Dr. Sarah Jarvis. Dr. Sarah, thank you so much. Can we first of all talk about those booster trials that we see are happening at the moment? Which group will be targeted first?
Well, we're going to be looking initially, I suspect, with those booster trials at something called the COV Boost study, which is involving nearly 3,000 people, 2,900 people, 18 sites. And the idea is they're going to be looking at anybody who has had at least 2 doses, and it'll be about 12 weeks later they'll have a third. There are 7 vaccines involved, so you might get a booster from a different vaccine than the first 2 that you had. But the idea is that by using a mix and match approach, we can guide what we hope will be happening in the autumn when we roll out the booster programme for more people with COVID.
Now, at the moment, the government target is that everyone above the age of 50 should receive 2 doses of the vaccine by that so-called unlocking date, that June the 21st. But of course, you don't get protection until 3 weeks after the second dose. So people still have to be careful.
They very much do. And the data that we heard quoted there, about 88% protection from 2 weeks after your second dose for Pfizer and 60 to 66% protection from 2 weeks after your second dose of AstraZeneca, is from 2 weeks after that. But we think that the AZ vaccine may offer better protection a few weeks down the line from that. So really we need to be thinking about 4 to 6 weeks after your second dose. Now, we have had virtually 50% of the population who've had 2 doses now, but many of them are still in that 4-week period.
So still need to be slightly careful, don't they? And we saw as well, we saw in Twickenham yesterday, there was a huge vaccination surge, wasn't there? 18s and over being encouraged. The demand was huge. That's really positive, isn't it, that we're seeing younger people understanding why it's important to get the vaccine, even if you're not high risk from COVID.
It is really important that everybody understands if the opportunity is available to you, the risks are tiny. We are talking even among young people whose risks are low, the likelihood of getting, for instance, that severe blood clot on the brain that we heard about, the cerebral venous thrombosis, is 8 to 10 times higher if you get COVID than if you have the vaccine. And of course, we need to remember that younger people are among those at highest risk for long COVID. That's before we even get on to the idea that because we now know that you can reduce transmission by at least 40 to 60% by having the vaccine, you're helping to make others safer too.
All right, Dr. Sarah Jarvis, as ever, wonderful advice. Thank you. Still to come, After a balmy bank holiday, record temperatures are forecast for a second day. But first, two-time Commonwealth champion Colin Jackson is leading the call for thousands of volunteers to step up for next year's Commonwealth Games in Birmingham. Sporting stars, including Paralympian Ellie Simmonds and boxer Galak Gefai, have been volunteering in local communities in a bid to drive up interest.
Anyone can join, can do your bit and you can help.
Organisers are searching for more than 13,000 people who are eager to take part, and if you are, applications are now open. We'll tell us more. Colin Jackson joins me now from Salford. Colin, thanks so much for joining us this lunchtime. First of all, I remember London 2012, and there were volunteers all around London, such a lovely atmosphere. So tell us why the role of a volunteer is so important at these big sporting events.
Oh, no, you are so right indeed. And the Commonwealth Collective, as the volunteers will be known in Birmingham 2022, going to be really the soul and the heart of the whole Commonwealth Games. Because when people arrive in facilities, when guests arrive from other countries, these are the first people they meet. So it's really important to us that we get the right type of volunteers who are there really for that, just for volunteers. So they create a lovely atmosphere because they want to be there.
And Colin, volunteers is a bit of a very wide, isn't it? So talk us through some of the jobs that people could be doing.
There are numerous jobs that people could be doing. I mean, you could be driving, for example, people around in that sense, making sure they're right, being in the actual stadiums of competition venues, holding kits, ushering people around, directing, making sure people stay safe. And then those kind of jobs that we expect people to do, you don't have any formal training for. But also really what's important for us is we get medical staff as well who are kind of well trained and will know what to do. And if they have book time off for a vacation and they fancy volunteering at the Commonwealth Games, what a wonderful opportunity for them and us to be part of that Commonwealth Collective, as I said.
And Colin, you're not from Birmingham, are you? But I know you've got a lot of connections to the city, haven't you? It's very close to your heart.
Yeah, I love the city for numerous reasons. I mean, first of all, it was the first time I ran under 13 seconds for 110 hurdles, was there in Birmingham. And then the complete end of that was my retirement. My very last competition was in the city of Birmingham, and the volunteers there sent me off in such a wonderful way. They created an incredibly beautifully handmade card signed by virtually all the volunteers, and that has pride of place with all my medals.
Oh, I bet it does. And Colin, seeing as you're here, we've got to ask you a question that's related to the sporting world and to the tennis world, because reeling after the news that Naomi Osaka quit the French Open because there was a controversy that she didn't want to speak to the press. Obviously, you'll know, being a sports person, a sports personality, there are commitments at these big tournaments, but also pressure on individuals as well. So what's your thinking on all this?
Yeah, we've got to look at the holistic health of sports stars in that sense. And if Naomi didn't feel very comfortable in a certain circumstance because she was suffering a little bit from mental problems and issues that she herself are trying to deal with, then I totally have empathy with that. And I think the really importance for us is never to question the reasons why, but potentially understand that she's saying this because she needs to have that break. It is clear there are rules, there are regulations are set in, and if somebody really wants to work so hard against them, you know there's got to be something wrong. So for me, it was the right decision for her.
All right, Colin Jackson, thank you so much for your thoughts on that and ahead of Birmingham's Commonwealth Games. Thank you.
Thank you.
What's more the news now? 2 serving members of the British Army have been charged with firearms offences after an investigation by the Met. One of the men led the prestigious Goldstream Guards, which protects the Queen, Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle. The pair from Berkshire are accused of trying to sell ammunition stolen from the armed forces. And drivers will not be immediately charged for entering Birmingham's Clean Air Zone, which launches today. Councillors say it will not take payment for the first 2 weeks to allow drivers time to adjust. The scheme covers the city centre and targets high-polluting vehicles, which will have to pay a daily charge. Now, after one of the coldest, wettest Mays on record, the first day of summer has finally arrived, bringing with it record temperatures. Following the balmy bank holiday, highs of 27 degrees are forecast, so we're better to enjoy it than by the seaside. Well, Martha Fairley is in Margate for us. And Martha, another scorcher today.
Yes, well, it is a gorgeous, glorious day here in Margate. There is a bit of a sea breeze, you might notice, which means we're unlikely to see the UK's highest temperatures of the year so far right here. But the Met Office are predicting that in parts of the UK we will see temperatures rise to 26 or 27 centigrade today. But that hasn't stopped people from filling up the beach. As you can see, everyone is trying to take advantage of this wonderful weather after such a gloomy spring. And earlier on this morning we were on the beach speaking to people as they were setting up and getting out their buckets and spades, and it seems that everybody is just delighted to be out here in the fresh air with plenty of space to enjoy the sun safely.
It's nice and open, you can see exactly where the kids are, and you've just got everything here.
Been a tough year. The kids have been hard with the kids as well, homeschooling and everything. So yeah, it's just great to get out.
We actually probably would have been abroad, yes, but we're quite happy just to be out.
And for Margate's businesses, of course, which rely on tourism, this will be an incredibly welcome sight. Fingers crossed for them. This is the start of a summer full of sunshine and staycations.
Indeed. Martha, thank you. And finally, two more Friends have had a reunion after the success of the sitcom's reboot last week. Remember the routine? 5, 6, 7, 8. Well, Courtney Cox and David Schwimmer famously performed the routine in season 6. Well, now it seems Monica has found a new dance partner in the form of Ed Sheeran.
5, 6, 7, 8.
The singer posted the new and questionably improved dance on Instagram with the hashtag obviously better than Ross. Well, could we be seeing a dance-off? We'll have to see. That's it this lunchtime. Charlene will be here with the ITV Evening News at 6:30. The news where you are follows the national weather. But for now, from everyone on the Lunchtime team, bye-bye.